one of the most frequently seen moves in the openings is 1d4, and you may wonder what to do against it. And today I have an opening recommendation for you, and you can start the game with e5, attacking this pawn immediately. So white have to capture that, and then you should develop your knight on c6, because now you are threatening that pawn and you would like to recapture it back, right? And the most obvious way is to protect it by white with this move knight to f3. And now you should attack this pawn again, queen e7. And this is Englund Gambit. You are attacking that pawn, but you are keeping an eye on this square on b4. Now, white should defend this pawn, and if he just develop his pieces, then we can capture this pawn and everything is just fine for black, nothing to worry about. But white should protect that pawn. And now you should put some difficulties to white. How to do that? By double attack. Actually, this is a triple attack, because you are attacking the king, the bishop, and the unprotected pawn on b2. So you are going to capture one pawn back. And now white should be careful. For example, after knight to c3, here there is some tricks. Of course, you can pause the video and try to think by yourself. What are you going to do with black here? And capturing on f4, it's not recommendable, because after this, white can play this tricky move knight to d5, and now our queen on f4 and the c7 pawn are under attack. For example, something queen e4, and then white can capture on c7, attacking the king and the rook d8, knight takes a8, and white have some advantage here. For that reason, I'm not suggesting you to capture this bishop immediately, but you should aim for that pawn, on b2. This is your target, and after bishop to d2, because the knight is under attack, after this you should play bishop b4, and this is transposition to the main lines. Okay, let's move forward now. After queen to b4 check, another terrible blunder here is to put the queen on d2, and immediately white fall into the trap. This looks very natural, because it's protecting the bishop. But after queen takes b2, now the rook on a1 is under attack, is hanging, and we are threatening to capture that rook. The most obvious way to stop this threat is by queen to c3, but already he is gone. He is dead lost now, because black can win. How to do that? Bishop b4, a deadly pin on the diagonal a5 e1, so white is winning. And let's go back. It's wrong to play queen d2. It's very tricky to put the knight on c3, but the most obvious way to continue the game is bishop to d2. And now, of course, you should not go back. This is bad, because he can improve the position of the bishop, and he solidly protect the pawn. Now we don't have this check on before, and white is clearly better here. This is bad to go back. And here one very nice move is to capture on b2. And before that, I'll show you the line knight to c5. This is a novelty, no one played in the real game, but it's a very interesting game. We will come back here a little later. But after queen to b2, now white should be extremely careful. The rook on a8 is under attack as well. And now the most obvious way to protect that rook is again with the bishop. But already he fell into our trap. Now white is losing, because again we should put the bishop on b4. Now the bishop on c3 is under attack, because we have bishop and queen attacking that bishop, and he has only one defender. For that reason he should play something like queen d2, right? It looks normal. But this is another blunder, because we can capture here, and after queen takes c3, in order to protect the rook, and everything seems fine for white, but now he is losing. We have checkmate in one move. Queen c1, and this is a checkmate. So let's move back. He should capture here on c3, but then we can capture the rook, of course. Knight d1, we can capture the pawn, and black is totally winning here. He has material advantage. So let's go back. It's a terrible blunder to put the bishop on c3 and then the queen on d2. And now if he just captures here on b4, this looks interesting, but again we are going to win the game, because the knight can recapture. Now we are threatening to capture on c2 with check, and there is no obvious way to protect that pawn. For example, now I just seen the knight on d4, but we can just capture the rook on a8. Maybe we have another trick here, and the trick is to capture that knight with the queen. This is another cool trick, because if he recaptures with the queen, then we have the double attack, the triple attack. We can capture here, attacking the king, the rook, and the queen, the family fork, and black is winning. So we have both a lot of ways to win, and if you just play here knight to c3, we have two ways to continue the game. The simplest one is to capture on c3, and after queen d2 we can capture again on a1. He should go back, then we can recapture the queen, and we have material advantage here, and black should win the game. But the other cool way is to capture the rook immediately, and after queen a1 we can give this double check, and after that we can capture the queen. This is winning as well, but it's better to capture the knight, of course, the unprotected knight. Anyway, let's going back. After queen takes b2, he should not put the bishop on c3. This is bad, so he should know this move, knight to c3. White should have some knowledge here in order not to lose the game immediately. And now you should, it's very bad to put the knight on b4. I played this line a lot of times with white and black pieces. This is a very popular line on internet, and a lot of players plays this knight on b4. He's continue to attack here, but this is wrong now, because white can't play this knight on d4, the other knight on d4, and this knight with queen is protecting this pawn very, very well. Now we are threatening something like knight rook b1, to attack the queen, to hammer this knight. Maybe we can jump on b4, and the white's position is close to winning here. It's very nice, and you don't have this tactic to capture this knight on d4, because this line is blocked by the knight on c3. So I don't recommend you to play this knight on b4. This is a bad move. And after here, the best move, or a very good move, is to put the bishop on b4. This is very nice. And again, if you try to do some tricks like that, knight to d5, because now he is threatening to capture the bishop, he is threatening c7, is not very, it's not very nice move, because we can capture on d2. This is a check, knight takes d2, and now knight b4. A very nice move, and the idea is to remove this dangerous knight from d5. He doesn't have time to capture here on c7. For example, if he just capture here, we can go on d8, and after this recapture we are winning with two ways. We can capture again the rook, gaining an extra rook after these exchanges. Black, the material is equal here. It's not very, very nice to do it in this way, but we have a better way, and the better way is to capture on c2 with the knight, because now we are threatening the king. The king doesn't have any good square, any square to go, so he should sacrifice the queen, and after that we are winning. We have material advantage. So let's go back. Knight to d5 is not a good move, and of course after this exchanges and knight to b4, he should capture here the knight, right? This is the correct move, but then we can recapture with the queen, and this is a very nice position for black. The material is equal, his pawns are break, this pawn is double in the E line. We can continue developing the knight, for example, try to capture that pawn, and white have some development problems. So let's go back. Knight d5 is not the best, and the best here is to put the rook on b1. Then we can play the queen on a3. Knight b5 is maybe the best move. Another interesting line is rook to d3. We can go on a5 with the queen, and another interesting line is to go now on d5. Because he has more activity now. This is a playable line. But after knight to b5, we can capture here, queen takes on d2, queen takes on a2, and the position is dynamic. We have some counterplay. He can capture here on c7, but similarly we are threatening the rook on d1, right? And we have material advantage here. We have an extra pawn, and usually our middle game plan is to push this pawn forward and create just a new queen. So the position is playable for both sides, as I told you, and if from time to time you can try this variation, but here you have another line. After bishop to d2, our recommendable line is to capture on b2, but you have another line. One player played it to me, and it's one of the best computer lines. It's queen to c5, This is a novelty, I told you, and now after knight to c3 we can capture on e5. If you don't like to go on all of these complications, then you can capture here, and for example after e3 you can develop your pieces, something like that, and everything looks normal here for black. Or if he plays something like bishop to e3, then we can capture on f3. This is a check, e takes a3, queen a5, and I don't think that white have anything here, and black have a better pawn structure. You can see everything is intact, but white have a double pawns. So this is all about this gambit, and this is complete answer on d4. After d4 you should play e5, d takes e5, knight to c6, attacking the pawn, knight f3, queen e7, attacking again this e5 pawn with two forces. And for example the most the best way to defend this pawn is bishop to f4, and now we can create problems with this check on b4, bishop b2, and now you have two lines. You can capture on b2, this is good, or you can play queen c5. Everything is playable. I hope you enjoy this video. Of course, you're very welcome to click the thumbs up button, subscribe in the channel, and see you soon. All the best.